Well, Jan, there are many challenges meeting us on the world scene in November 2014. Is the global leadership, the leaders of the nations, are they up to facing all these crises?
It's hard to be able to face up to all these crises. You need to be a Renaissance personality, covering political developments, economic developments, social developments, and catching the new trends, catching the new direction we are going. I am concerned that we are not in the control that we need to be, and that institutions, whether it is the United Nations, European Union, or national institutions and governments, can sufficiently produce the results that people on the ground expect. And we live in a world, as you know, with the mass communication revolution, where expectations are very high and where people expect results very soon, driven by the fact that they know what's going on outside. 20 years ago, people didn't know what they could expect. So it is a new global landscape which has developed, and we need to come to grips with that and try as best as possible adapt to the new conditions.
When it comes to leadership and those challenges, which positive signs do you see that it might be that we can handle this?
The positive signs that I see in the world is perhaps a surprise to you. It's the young people. I say that because I know the young people are also the ones that meet the biggest challenges. You have the youth unemployment, which to me is a poison in the world body, and we have to deal more in a more determined and systematic way with dealing with this problem. It has huge consequences. I come back from the Middle East. I've been in Africa recently, and I've seen the horrible consequences of that. But still, the young people that I see all the time here in the United Nations, back in Sweden in the Foreign Ministry, when I was visiting professor at Uppsala University and Gothenburg University, I really see a tremendous source of energy, the striving for knowledge and unbiased opinions and wonderful interest in the world outside. So young people is my first hope. The second one is women. I think we are seeing finally the empowerment, the full empowerment of women in the world. The first time in history that the women are taking the stand, taking the positions that they should have had a long time ago. That's a global trend which is irresistible. The third thing that gives me hope is science, technology, and knowledge. I can see in the area of the medical research, I can see it in the area of environmental challenges, how much science and technology means. And I think we should bring together more effectively the social sciences and the natural sciences. The social sciences are good at answering the question how. The natural sciences are good at answering the question what. We need to bring that together. And the last positive thing is still international organizations. I'm a friend of the United Nations, but I'm not an uncritical friend. But I think in today's world we can never solve our problems unless we have a global awareness and global leadership and realization that we simply are depending on our neighbors and the world outside.
Being here on the 38th floor of the UN headquarters, and you have your workplace here, is it sometimes a little bit frustrating when you watch the development in the world?
Yes. But in a strange way, I feel energized by coming out to the field. I've been in this position now for soon 2.5 years. I've served the organization earlier, but I gather strength and force and energy from seeing realities. I just come back from Iraq and Iran. Recently I was in Somalia, in Afghanistan, in Mali, in the border areas to Syria, in Lebanon. And being out there and seeing what we do on the ground every day and our struggle to deal with horrible realities gives me energy. So when I come back to the meeting rooms here and meeting with member states and in somewhat complicated negotiation situations, I think back of the field where I really see the realities in such a way that it gives me hopefully more strength to deal with the challenges.
When considering the United Nations, it might be that we out there, we look too much at what is happening in the Security Council and so on.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, every day we save lives, every day we have, we drill wells, we try to care with patients. The problem in today's world is that the humanitarian crises are exploding in a way that I've never seen in the past. It's like walking over a minefield. Mm-hmm. Every day we have a new crisis, and the organization is under tremendous strain, and member states are asked to deliver to humanitarian operations all over the world. And we do it, we have to do it, but I feel sometimes frustration, I must admit, when I think of the fact that we so much deal with the symptoms rather than the root causes. I wish we could move more in the direction of prevention, of acting early, so that we don't have to wait for the disasters and the houses on full fire and the victims, so many victims suffering.
Sometimes you tell us that UN is not more than the member states. Is that when you are frustrated?
Well, the frustration comes from that the UN is an expression of the collective political will of the member states, and the most important body in terms of international peace and security is the Security Council. And if one of the permanent members of the Security Council with the right of veto doesn't want to stand by a resolution, then it does not become binding, it does not come in effect at all. And this, for instance, in the case of Syria, is such a frustrating situation for the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and me, that we are often criticized and blamed, and I don't want to sort of blame someone else, but it's a fact of life that Kofi Annan, our negotiator in Syria, and then later Lakhdar Brahimi, were seriously prevented from doing what they wanted and what we wanted, because there was no resolution given that strength. So I think it is important that member states realize that a good international solution in today's world is in the national interest. If we can come to that conclusion that it is in the national interest to find that international formula, whether it's for peace and security, development, or human rights, then we have reached a qualitatively new stage. You can imagine if the parliaments in the world could come to the conclusion that the international agreement is the national interest, the editorial writers, the media, the civil society, people on the street, then I think we have a breakthrough. I hope, and I'm sure in the end we will come to that conclusion, but we are not there yet.
Say something about managing an organization with this multicultural character as UN is.
It's a hard task to manage this, but at the same time it's also very inspiring, because on the one hand we are 40,000-50,000 soon people in the world working in all countries of the world practically, and we have all nationalities in the world represented out in the field and here at headquarters, and we have to deal with peace and security, development, human rights. If you then look at that spectrum, it's a huge spectrum, and I find it important to get energy and strength from the diversity. I think any organization in today's world has to reflect growingly the world as it is. There might be those who look inward and say that we will only work with our own nationality, or our own, in Africa often tribe, or in the Middle East sect of our religion. That's where you feel at home, but that's a very false sense of security, because I think the real sense of security comes when you see diversity and bringing people together from different countries and cultures. That will be a reflection of any modern organization. So I feel, even if sometimes there are cultural differences and gaps also inside our own organization, it's a great strength. Another conclusion in terms of leadership that I have drawn from my own experience is that we are far too deeply into the vertical thinking, the silo mentality. We have to show all respect for being specialists in one area. That we have to be. We should be the best in whatever area we choose to be. But when it comes to solving problems and doing something about change, then you have to go horizontal. Then you have to turn to others in different other areas. We can't divide the work on peace and security on one hand from development or from human rights, because there is no peace without development. There is no development without peace. And there is none of the above without respect to human rights. So yes, be very good in your silo, in your vertical activity, what you have been trained for. But never forget that when you're supposed to do something about the problem, you can't do it alone in the silo. You have to cross into other areas. That's how you get the dynamics of change. And by the way, it's more fun because you learn so much more from others who have worked in their silos and who come and want to solve the problem. We should definitely always put the problem in the center, and then gather the different actors around the table and achieve in the end some type of division of labor, at least shared responsibility.
So you've learned a lot about leadership, which you can use now in this position.
Yes, I mean, I think I've been working forever. It's soon 50 years since I walked into the foreign ministry in Stockholm.
What is the greatest challenge in this job you have presently?
Well, the greatest challenge in more concrete terms is the growth of terrorism in not only the Middle East, but all over Africa right now. We have the Al-Shabaab in Somalia, we have Boko Haram in Nigeria, we have, of course, in the Middle East, ISIL, or Daesh as it's called. And they work more and more closely together between themselves, and they also work more and more together with organized crime. And it's a huge threat. And
which role do you have personally?
Well, I just come back from Iraq and Iran, and I worked on how we would deal with the threat of an extremist movement that is taking over territory in an independent state. That is one challenge. Another challenge, which is of urgent nature, is the Ebola crisis in Western Africa, where we are trying to mobilize support and get as many people in to help, and also help the 3 countries most affected to build up a health structure that is more efficient.
You are an optimist.
I'm an optimist, but I'm a worried optimist. I see several dangers, and I see the need for mobilization of efforts, not only by governments, but by civil society, by the private sector, by the academic community. We should really unite to try to deal with these issues and use our own expertise. Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something.
Jan, save the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't promise that, but I will try my best.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Great.